Greetings and welcome to Austin, Texas Gardening. Today I've got a short and simple video about propagating purslane. In my backyard I have these olive trees which I've planted in whiskey barrels, and this spring I planted some marigolds and petunias with them. Summer drought here in Austin, Texas has been super brutal on these plants, and so I figured I'd use my purslane to propagate into these containers. And over just about a month and a half, they've totally filled the containers. It looks very beautiful. And I'm going to show you guys how to propagate purslane as I did in this video. If you're wondering exactly what purslane is a fast-growing herbaceous annual with succulent leaves and stems. There's many different varieties of purslane, and sometimes it's used in medicine, but it is edible if you prepare it correctly. And it's got these lovely, beautiful flowers. So it's a really interesting combination of something that's edible and also a ornamental. This is my mother plant. All the purslane featured in the olive containers and all the other containers has come from this one plant. Got it for about 22 bucks and it's still with us today. Following a little bit of pruning, it's put out some flowers, and all of these red and orange and yellow flowers have come from it. Some have been propagated as I'll show in this video. Others, like the red flowers in this container, were propagated by proximity to seeds from the mother plant. One day I was doing a garden tour and I noticed these little shoots coming up in the olive container, and now they flourish to fill the whole space. So, the exact process of propagating your purslane. You're going to start off by taking some cuttings, so we have some cuttings here from our plant, and you're going to pull off a couple of the bottom leaves and stems. Your goal is to expose part of the main stem, and then the space that you're removing these leaves from will eventually grow roots when you plant this in the space that you'd like to propagate to. And I think you'll be really surprised by how quickly these grow. Both of my olive containers were totally filled using this small collection of cuttings here. One really cool thing about purslane is how well it holds up in the heat. It doesn't quite have the heat tolerance of a cactus. I had been watering these cuttings about every other day, but on days where it was excessively hot, it would just close up its flowers, and you can see that even on August 5th, we were having 100-degree weeks. The purslane was still managing to grow. Of course, once the rain came in, that's when we went from tiny, small beds of purslane to very full, good-looking beds of purslane. I think this fall would be a really wonderful time to add some purslane to your backyard garden. It's very easy to propagate, and you can get a container at almost any hardware store or nursery. These plants were potted in obviously really healthy soil. The dead marigolds I'm sure helped, but you can see mushroom caps trying to come up through this nice thicket of purslane. The flowers bloom for a couple of hours every day, maybe about 10 a.m. to 1. They close up in the afternoon. That's perfectly fine, but for those early morning hours, it adds so much color to the garden bed. I've seen hummingbirds coming out, really interested with the plants and bees, and it almost looks like spring again following all this rain we've got. I hope you found this video inspirational, educational, and entertaining. I encourage you to subscribe and join us on our journey. I have all sorts of interesting gardening projects planned this fall, and I've added some purslane to my large raised bed where we have cucumbers, peppers, and eggplant. So stay tuned for how the purslane turns out and all of our other interesting gardening projects, and thanks again for watching Austin, Texas Gardening.